Hello, and welcome to another episode of Grant Strategy Sessions. If you have been hanging with me for about a month or so, normally these sessions are on Fridays, but I am switching them to Tuesdays. So thank you for transitioning from Fridays to Tuesdays with me. And yes, we took a little break because of summer, but we are here this time in the month of June, and we will be back again in the month of July. And then in August, we will be back to our schedule once a week of free, yes, you heard that right, free and live grant strategy sessions. So, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Crystal Petrie. I am a grant strategist, a coach, and founder of the Crystal Petrie Consulting Company. If you are joining me live, let me know, where are you tuning in from? What city are you tuning in from? What state are you tuning in from? I would love to know where you are joining us from. Today's topic, it is such a relevant topic, and it is one that I hear all the time. Today's topic: why you're not getting grant funding even if you're applying. Yes, I get this all the time. Crystal, we're applying for grants. Why aren't we getting funded? Crystal, we submitted before the deadline. Why aren't we getting funded? Maybe you've submitted several applications. Maybe you've submitted a lot of applications. Maybe you've spent hours and hours researching your opportunities. Maybe you even hired someone to write your proposal for you, but the funding still isn't coming. I hear it all the time, and I see it all the time. If this sounds familiar, then today's session is for you. So stick around with me. I am going to help you work through this situation. I'm going to share today that sometimes it has nothing to do with your writing when it comes to your grant proposals. It has nothing to do with writing better sentences or your grammar or writing more better paragraphs. A lot of times that has nothing to do with it. In many cases, the reason you are not securing grants, even though you are applying for it, wait for it, strategy. You are applying for grants, you are not securing funding. Most of the time, it's because of strategy. And today, I'm going to walk you through 3 reasons organizations struggle to secure funding even when they are actively applying. And the information that I'm going to give to you today is information that I teach my coaching clients all the time. So buckle up. I hope you have a pen and paper. If not, you can always rewatch this video and rewatch this live until you have it down. Okay, so number one reason that people are not getting grant funding, even though they are applying, you are applying before you are even ready. It's a hard pill to swallow, but if you can keep it down, it'll do you some good. You are applying for grant funding, and your organization, your business, whether that's a nonprofit or for profit, or you are an entrepreneur, you are not ready to apply for funding. And when I say you, I mean your organization, your business is not ready. This is one of the biggest and most common mistakes I see organizations rushing to apply. They they find a grant or someone emails it to them. They get excited. They see a deadline, so they want to hurry up and rush and apply for it. They start writing. They see dollar signs. They see how much money the organization is offering, and they think what I can do to help my community with this funding, what I can do to grow my organization with this funding, what I can do to bring on help, to bring on people to help me if I get this funding. But have you done the foundational work yet? Before the deadline, have you done the foundational work? Before you see the grant, before someone emails it to you, have you done the foundational work? Before you get excited, before you start writing, have you done the foundational work? Most of the time, that answer is no. Funders want to see clear programs, clear outcomes, clear budgets, clear community needs. If your organization cannot clearly explain what problem you are solving and how you will measure success, funding becomes difficult. Grant readiness matters. I think I'm going to start using that as a hashtag. Hashtag grant readiness matters because it does. What is your program? What are you going to do? What does your organization do? What are your outcomes? How are you going to measure success? All of these things are very, very important before you even think about applying for funding. Before you get excited, before the deadline, you need to have all of these things documented, and you need to show that you have been doing the work already. Do not do the work, do not apply for the funding and then do the work. Funders want to see that you have a history of already doing this work. Funders want to see that you have a history of success in your communities, in your school districts, wherever you are. You need to have a record of success. You need to have a record of doing the work before you apply for funding. That is the number one and most common reason that people are applying for funding but not getting it. You are applying before you are ready. What gaps do you have in your foundation? What gaps do you have in your infrastructure? All of that needs to be answered and fixed before you apply for funding. Reason number 2, you're applying for the wrong grants. This one is right up there with applying before you are ready, but it is definitely number 2. You're applying for the wrong grants. Another common mistake, chasing money. Very, very common in the grant world. Many organizations apply simply because there's funding. Many organizations apply simply because they get excited. They apply because they see a deadline. They apply because someone emailed them a grant proposal or they happen to find one. They get excited. because there's funding there. But before the excitement, before the email, before the deadline, ask yourself, does this grant fit our mission? And I'm going to add on to that. Do you know what your mission is? What is your mission for your organization? This is very, very important. You have to know what your mission is for your organization before you can even answer and ask the question, does this grant fit our mission? Most people, instead of asking, what is my mission? Does this grant fit our mission? They're asking, how can we make this, how can we make our organization fit this grant? How can we work around to make sure this grant fits our organization or we fit into the organization? It's like trying to force a puzzle piece that does not belong. I don't care how you turn it around, how you flip it upside down, how you try and force it, it will not fit. It's backwards. It's wrong. It does not fit. The strongest applications happen when mission and funder priorities naturally align. So I'm sure you're probably asking yourself and asking me as well, how do I know what the funder's priorities are? How do I know what the funder's mission is? I am so glad you asked. Their website. Go to the funder's website. They always have their mission on the website. And it's normally the very first thing you see when you click on the website. Their mission is right there. What they are wanting to do, who they are wanting to help, it's normally at the very top of their website. Another place you can go is actually within the RFP, request for proposal. It's normally at the top. Within the description, the funder is writing out the description, what the funding is for, who their target audience is, what they want to accomplish. Within that section is the funder's mission. You can find the funder's mission on their social media. It's there as well. Go to their website. Their mission is there. Go to their social media. Their mission is there. Within the request for a proposal, their mission is there. And that's how you find the funder's mission. And that's how you determine, does your mission align with the funder's mission? And if it does, keep reading. If it does not, put it down and back away and wait until there is a grant where your mission aligns with the funder. Alignment matters more than volume. Reason number three. I wonder, have you seen yourself in any of these reasons? Have you seen your organization in any of these reasons? Reason number three, you don't have a funding strategy. There goes that word again, strategy. I was talking about that at the beginning of this live free grant strategy session. You have to have a strategy when you are applying for grants. It is a must. This is where most organizations get stuck. They're applying, they're reading, and they're not getting funded. The reason they're not getting funded, you're not planning. You do not have a funding strategy. Let me tell you what is included in a funding strategy. Annual funding goals. How much do you want to make at the end of each year? Target funders. What funders, what organizations are you targeting? Very, very important, because this keeps you from feeling around in the dark. This keeps you from going after any and every funder that you see or that comes across your desk. Relationship building efforts. Have you been building relationships? Most of the time, obviously not all the time, but most of the time, organizations give funding to organizations they know, to the executive directors that they know, to the vice presidents that they know. If you have been looking for grants and reading grants, I am sure you have come across, because I know I have come across this. The funder will say, we only accept invitation only applications. I see it all the time. That is a relationship building tactic. They only want to give funding to organizations they have relationships with. So when you see that on a website, when you see that in an email, when you see that on a request for a proposal, you know that is a relationship building tactic. When you see only accepting invitation applications, that is a relationship building tactic. So, are you out there building relationships with funders? Are you on their webinars? Are you on their newsletters? Are you following them on social media? If they have a coffee and chat in your community, in your city, are you there? You have to build relationships. It's so important when it comes to writing grants and securing those funders. Also, do you have a grant calendar or some way to keep up with past grants and upcoming grants? That's exactly what a grant calendar does. It lets you know these are the grants that you have applied for. These are the deadlines for those grants. This is how much you applied for. Did you secure that funding? Also, you can put on there, and this is so important, grants normally come out the same time every year or every other year. Put that on your calendar. Put the name of the funder. Put when the RFP is coming out, request for a proposal. Put the deadline on there. Keep that information front and center so you will know when to start preparing and gathering information for your grant application. You do not want to see a deadline and now you're scrambling. You have 2 weeks to submit something. You have a week to submit something. Last minute scrambling, trying to submit a grant, you will miss something. You will forget something. A grant calendar helps to eradicate that, because you are able to see when the deadline is, when the RFP opens, and you can plan accordingly. Capacity planning, so important. All of these things are so important to have and to understand when you have a funding strategy. Without strategy, every application feels disconnected. With strategy, every application builds towards a larger goal. And that should be your goal, to build your organization, to have a strategy that builds on to and builds up to a larger goal. Let me give you an example of an organization. They have been applying and applying and applying for grants for nearly a year. They had submitted multiple applications, but they received several rejections. They assumed the problem was their writing, their sentences, their grammar, their none of that was it. It was not. We looked deeper and found foundational gaps, found infrastructure gaps. The main issues that were discovered once we dug deeper, once we did the coaching sessions, their program outcomes were not clearly defined. What are you doing? How are you doing it? Who are you doing it for and with? Second, they were pursuing opportunities that did not align with their mission. If you do not align with the funder's mission, 9 times out of 10, you are not going to get that funding. And remember my new hashtag, grant readiness matters. That's my new hashtag, everyone. Grant readiness matters, because it does. Their third issue, they had no funding plan. We spent time strengthening their program framework. We spent time identifying their gaps in infrastructure, identifying their gaps in their foundation, looking at their weaknesses and correcting those things, strengthening their weaknesses, filling in their gaps, strengthening their program framework. We clarified outcomes, focused on only aligned opportunities, because grant readiness matters. And we built a grant strategy. The result, I'm sure you've guessed it by now, their conversions with funders improved, their confidence to apply for grants improved, and they positioned themselves to receive funding much more effectively for now and in the future. Here's the lesson that I want you to take away. The problem normally is not effort. The problem normally is not writing. The problem most likely is strategy. Make sure you have a strategy when you are applying for grant funding. So here's the part most people, most organizations, most businesses do not want to hear. More applications does not automatically lead to more funding. Let me say that again, please. More applications, more submitting grants does not automatically lead to more funding. Applying for grants is not a numbers game. Dominoes, that's a numbers game. 21, that's a numbers game. Grants is not a numbers game. Funders are evaluating readiness, capacity, alignment, impact. If those pieces are missing, if any of those pieces are missing, submitting more applications will not solve your problem. Sometimes the best next step is not another application. Sometimes the best next step is strengthening your foundation. If today's session was helpful for you, that is what I want. That is why I decided to come on every week, now on Tuesdays at 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, to teach and to pour into you so that you can become a better grant writer, so that you can have funding strategies. So if today's session was helpful to you, I am so happy to hear that. I want you to take an action. This is my call to action for you who are watching live and who are listening later. This is my call to action. Ask yourself and be honest. Am I truly grant ready, or am I simply grant hopeful? There is a huge difference. Again, ask yourself and be honest. Am I truly grant ready, or am I just grant hopeful? There is a difference. If you're unsure, if you don't know if you're grant ready or you're grant hopeful, if you are unsure where the gaps are in your infrastructure, where the gaps are in your foundation, I invite you to schedule a grant strategy call with me now. This is my website here on the screen, CAPETRYLLC.com. Schedule a grant strategy session with me now. The grant strategy session is absolutely free. Let's find out what is keeping your organization from receiving funding. During this conversation, we will discuss your funding goals, your current challenges, grant readiness, because remember, hashtag grant readiness matters. What is your next best steps? And if coaching makes sense for you with me, one-on-one coaching, we'll talk about that. I have a workshop coming up August 20th, 2026. If that workshop makes sense for you, we will discuss that. My goal is to help you identify the right path forward. Again, schedule your grant strategy call with me right now. My website is right here on the screen, CAPETRYLLC.com. This grant strategy call is absolutely free. We will talk about what are your funding goals? What are your current challenges? Are you grant ready or just grant hopeful? What are your next best steps? Now, I have room for 3 grant strategy calls this week. It's Tuesday. Call me. Well, go to my website, schedule a date and time for us to speak. Absolutely free. The grant strategy call is absolutely free. I have 3 openings this week for grant strategy calls. Make sure you are one of the 3. Schedule the call now. Go to my website, CAPETRYLLC.com. It is on the screen. I just want to thank you all so much for spending 30 minutes of your day with me, investing and learning about grant funding. I appreciate you so much. Let's continue the learning. Let's continue the education. Follow me on all of my socials. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I am on YouTube. Crystal Petrie Consulting on all of those platforms. Follow me there. Let's continue the conversation. Let's continue the learning, and let's continue to build our community. I appreciate each one of you being here, and I look forward to seeing you at the next free live grant strategy session, July 14th at 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time.